And if successful, this would be the first time a French government has been forced out in more than 6 decades, and will again leave the President Emmanuel Macron with the tough task of forming a government after his snap election gamble in July provided no clear winner. For more on this, I'm joined on set now by Hind Ziane. Thanks so much for being with us here.
Thank you for having me.
Where do you see things going from here?
So it's looking almost impossible, to be honest. So ever since the dissolution that we had a couple of weeks ago now, a couple of months ago now, we've always thought that having an assembly that is split in three is never going to get us anywhere. And honestly, our constitution has been, and the regime has been very much weakened by what has happened in the past few months, past few weeks. But the idea here is to say that the president can't dissolve parliament until next summer. So what's going to happen next? Well, probably this government is going to fall, because if you do the math, far left plus far right, they're going to be able to topple the government. But then here again, if this government hasn't been able to make any progress, probably the next one either, because you have such a split parliament, such a split French political life, political sphere, that there is almost no solution to this equation except to dissolve him, but we can't do that until next year, next summer. And this is the first one, and the second one is basically the president deciding to quit his job and to have a new snap election, but this time a presidential election.
So it would require Emmanuel Macron to fall on his sword. For our international viewers, I memean, can France function if it doesn't have a government? What kind of things will that hold up?
It can actually still function. That's what we were talking about a little bit earlier. The idea is what is going to be very highly likely able to happen is basically we're just going to renew the budget that we had last year. We're going to renew it for 2025. So we're not going to have a shutdown like in America, except, of course, any major political projects are going to be put on hold until we actually have a true budget for 2025. So everything that is functional, administrative is going to keep going, but the more political stuff is going to be probably put on hold.
Now, remind us how we got here. It was sort of a gamble by Emmanuel Macron to try to keep out the far right. Where do you think things stand with that now? Are they just as close to the doors of power, do you think?
They have never been this strong. And honestly, today they're probably the strongest political power in France, especially in parliament, but also in how many votes they got in the last election. And just to remind our viewers, 11 million people voted for them. So that makes them the biggest power in terms of votes, but also the biggest power in parliament, because they're the ones who can actually make or break the government. So their power is so great today that the government is about to be toppled because he didn't accept to sacrifice more of its tax, of its budget, to actually follow what they were asking for. Mr. Barnier, the Prime Minister's government, has already given up on a lot of his on a lot of parts of his text, just because the far right expected him to do so and asked him to do so. So the far right, the national rally, has never been this strong in the country.
And you say that because they are the single biggest party on their own, but it's actually the grouping of left-wing parties that are the biggest bloc in Parliament, and they've been up in arms because Michel Barnier and the centre-righters were the ones put in power. Do you think we could see a shift to the left also?
It's a good question. So the left, since the beginning, has a very simple strategy and mindset. It's because we were first in terms of seats, we should be in government. We should be governing, and a prime minister should be selected from our people. It wasn't the case because of specific constitutional and institutional realities in the French politics. But here, the idea for them is to basically just hold on, vote obviously the no confidence vote, the motion of no confidence, and maybe expect a presidential election. And some of the biggest leader of the strongest group, of the strongest party in this left coalition, is expecting a presidential election before 2027. So that's, for them, it's where they're more looking, the left is more looking into what is going to happen after this government and after we've done trying several governments, maybe, more than what is happening now.
Yeah, it's a real moment in history here. Thank you, Hind Ziane, founder of the tech startup Generation Politique. Thanks for being with us for that analysis.
Thank you for having me.
We move on now to the latest